Okay. So, the first one is pay close attention to people's actions, not just their words. And here we are talking about 10 secrets to meeting Mr. and Mrs. Right. The first one is pay closer attention to people's actions, not just their words. Does anybody relate to that at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So, basically what we're saying is, and everything here hopefully will help you build upon how you interact with people and how you can improve upon your dating skills. Okay? So, we all want to believe what everybody says. Now, when I was on the internet, I listened, being on America Online, and I think that was truly a very generational thing. That's something that we all went through. Younger kids are not going to quite go through the way we did, but people fell head over heels with what people said on the internet. Anybody relate to that? Even if you put your hand up a little bit? How many people that you know fell head over heels with someone that they never even met over the internet? A lot of people. A lot of people.
What about the picture they put?
Well, okay, so they put up false pictures, but let me tell you what really was going on very briefly, because there's so much to cover. I don't know how we're going to do this. Basically, what was happening was people were relating on an intellectual level. They were so turned on by getting their minds turned on. Cyber sex? Ah, someone had cyber sex in here. Okay. That's the thought of it anyway. I'm sure more than one person. I'm sure half the room probably had some of that. But what I'm saying to you is this. It leads back to exactly what I was saying in the very, very beginning. If we got our hearts broken, most of us were just not strong enough to risk opening our hearts again. We started doing other things. Now they call it hooking up. It's really an easy way to put it, but we started doing things like having sex a lot easier, having sex quickly with each other rather than getting to know the person. If you were to speak to people in their 80s and 90s now, the thought of jumping into bed with someone, after they first met them was just non-existent. What was so great about that? They actually got to know someone before they went to bed with them. Oh my God. They actually got to know. A teacher of mine told me, Dr. Pat Allen, might want, if you're taking notes, you want to write the name Dr. Pat Allen. She wrote a book called Getting to I Do. And in that book, she taught me, she was one of my teachers out in Los Angeles. Talk about an incredible teacher. She was a little old lady, about this tall, who used to speak every week out in Los Angeles at a movie theater to movie producers, agents, managers, actors, who were so hardcore what they were doing with business, but they were alone and lonely, and they wanted to know why. And this little old lady was telling them why they are alone. Because being a type A, aggressive, masculine personality, if you're a lady, at work doesn't work in relationships. And she was teaching everybody, all these movie producers, heads of movie studios. She used to pack this movie theater with hundreds of people. She knew what she was talking about. She says, you can have it all, but it's going to take a heck of a lot to do that. And we talked briefly about the women's lib. It's wonderful, wonderful thing to have women's lib in the business world. But I think it's done some things in our personal lives that have really made things a lot more challenging and a lot more difficult when it comes to falling in love. So, pay close attention to people's actions, not just their words. And the big example of that was listening to what people said on the internet. You never even met them. They want you to fall in love with them. You want to fall. It's not about the intellect. It's like oil and water. The intellect, you can't fall in love with deep feelings intellectually. The reason why is that your mind changes. That's why it's so difficult to date now. Because we find someone that we like, and they're so in their heads, they're so in their minds, protecting their hearts, that their minds change quickly. Where all of you know in this room that when you have loving feelings in your heart, that doesn't change every week. You don't just change. It stays with you maybe forever. So our goal is to want to be able to open up our hearts again, as scary as that might sound. Because if we don't, there's a very, very good chance, like Dr. Pat Allen would say, that you're going to be alone and lonely, and you're going to die, and there won't be anybody around you to be there for you. You have to be able to make changes in your life. Things aren't working great these days. If they're working great for you, excellent. But if they're not working great for you as far as attracting someone, there has to be other ways to do it. And mainly one of the most important ways to do it is try not to lead with your head and what you think about relationships. Try to lead with your heart. And I know there's plenty of things you can get mad at me for saying lots of stuff, but the heart is where it's at. Heart to heart relationships, where it's at, not head to head.
Give an example.
Well, the example of what I was saying on the internet. Your head gets stimulated, and then you change your mind. A man picking women for mental stimulation because you're a challenge, and you didn't fall for his line right away. And he's into you because you become a challenge, not because you're such a wonderful, deep, spiritual, kind, giving person. He's into you for the mental gymnastics that you caused in his head. So what happens online millions of times, you get chased. Why did you get chased? I just wasn't that interested. So you got chased, and then you finally said to yourself, this guy is really a nice guy. He's so sweet, he's so kind, he's been so good to me, he's taken me out to dinner. I should really give him a chance. You didn't like him at first. There was definitely something not right, but he kept going after you and kept going after you, feeding your ego, making you feel good, complimenting you, taking you out. Then all of a sudden, about 6 months down the line, after hearing that he loved you a dozen times, 100 times, you said, you know what? This guy is really a pretty, you know what? I kind of love him too. I think I've fallen in love with him. So what do? He says to you, I love you, like he said it 100 times, and then you say to him, you know, I love you too. Watch his eyes. If his eyes drop, go to the side, like what do I do next? Go to this side, or look up. You have not fallen, but you allowed someone in your life who pursued you because you were a challenge to him. And he was mentally stimulated by you not caring about him all that much. That's an ugly thing. But it happened over and over. This is the same story. People told me over and over. I didn't really like him, but what did you do? You kept him around because he fed your ego. So it's not just his fault. It's a combination. If we lead with, I think I'll keep him around. I think he's okay. You know, he's taking me out to dinner and he's telling me how. I think, where's the oil in the water? You know, if you're not feeling it for that person, at least a little bit in the beginning. Let them go and find another challenge someplace else. Okay, we're never going to get through all this. Okay, number 2. Anybody want to read number 2? Does it mean anything? Number 2 mean anything?
Yeah.
You want to read it?
Use the intuition, common sense, and body language to help you notice red flags that could lead to an unhealthy relationship.
Okay, guy asks you out. He says, can we go out on Wednesday? I'll call you at 7. I'll be at your house at 7:30, and we're going to go out and have a great dinner. You know, he smelled good, looked good, sounded good. Gave him a chance. He said, sure. So he said he'll call you at 7:30. He doesn't call at 7:30. You're sitting there, kind of excited. Okay, 7:05 he'll call. 7:10 no call. 7:15 no call. This actually happened to me out in Los Angeles. Met an actress. She was absolutely gorgeous. She was in the, I'm going to age myself, she was in Fame. She was just gorgeous. And we made a date. And I said, I'll use that example. What the heck? I said, I'll come by at 7:30. I'll call you at 7:30. We'll go out at 8. I called her at 7:30. She wasn't home. 7:30, 7:40, 7:50, 7:52, 7:53, 7:54. I was calling every minute. What happened? This was like my dream girl. And about 8:15, she finally picked up the phone. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of forgot. I had an acting class at 6 and a dance class at 7. And, I just got home. And I said, what about our date? Oh, yeah. If you still want to go out, we can go out later or tomorrow. I had to make a very important decision. That I want to be 4th or 5th in line of importance to this person? See, it's a different world out there. Relationships do get placed 4th and 5th of importance. Everything is getting famous, rich, powerful. You do get placed 4th and 5th. And I had to say, wow, no. I wasn't important to you at all, was I? Oh, yeah, sure. Words. Actions speak louder than words. Why couldn't she call me and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be a little late. I took this last minute acting, but she didn't. Didn't care. So I'm either going to pursue someone, hey, she was a challenge. Hey, I could have pursued her because she wasn't there. She was like someplace else. I could have really gotten off on that. But boy, she hit too close to home. I could have fallen in love with that girl. Fall in love. And I said, that's way too dangerous. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Their actions, pay attention to the people's actions, not just their words, but use your intuition, okay? Your intuition, is that different from your intellect? When they tell you that you only use about 5% of your brain, you know what that means? That's the intellect. What's the other 95% doing? Something else. Like the intuition. So when we only use our intellect, we're walking around as 5%ers. That's it. That's all we're using. We got to be better than that. We have to be better than that. Start paying attention to your intuition. If you start getting a guy comes on to you, a woman, sounds good, smells good, looks good, and your stomach starts hurting. Oh. Or you get a headache. Pay attention to that. Because here you are trying to forge ahead with someone, but if you feel like you just got punched in the stomach, I'm not saying to ignore that person or walk away, but pay attention to that. That stomach punch is your intuition. It's your guardian angels telling you. No. Doesn't he remind you of somebody, like the last 4 that didn't work out right? Okay? Pay attention to your intuition.